Hello out there, folks. How are you doing this week? We had a couple more GOP candidates jump into the presidential race for 2016. We're going to talk about that. And of course, several more are expected to jump in over the next few weeks here and months. Hillary's accent once again morphs into whatever she thinks the crowd wants to hear. This is too funny. I'll play some of that for you. I've got some articles here. I've got an article here written in response to the gang shootout in Waco, Texas. I wanted to get to this last week, but I didn't get to it. Hopefully we'll get to it today. The news just keeps getting worse and worse in Baltimore. We'll take a look at that. And wait till you hear how a reporter is treated in a press conference down there in Baltimore, trying to get to the truth of what's going on. I brought you a quick report about a program adopted by Common Core last week, the Axis of Hope. And I want to expand on that a little bit. This is the program that is very anti-Israel. It tries to equate Hamas with the Likud party. And we'll take a look at that. And I've got a bunch of other stuff here. We'll see what we get to right here, right now, today on this, The Ray Warner Show. I am your host, Ray Warner. Thank you so much for listening in today. And if you have any questions for me, any comments, any concerns, any feedback for the show, if you just feel the need to rant or vent, feel free. The email address is theraywarnershow@gmail.com. So we had two more announcements for 2016 last week. We had former Pennsylvania Senator Rick Santorum is taking another stab at it. This will be his second go for the White House. He did fairly well the first time. He won 11 states. He finished second to the nominee, Mitt Romney, before bowing out of the race. And we had George Pataki, the former governor of the state of New York, was the other announcement. And we're likely to get a bunch more to jump into this thing pretty quick. We keep hearing about Jeb Bush. We keep hearing about Lindsey Graham, Scott Walker, even Donald Trump is talking about jumping in again. We got Bobby Jindal, John Kasich, even Paul Ryan, I heard was considering Chris Christie. He might jump in. Heck, Sarah Palin could jump into this thing for all we know. There's so much potential on the right. On the left, I think they're all just terrified of Hillary and the Clinton cash crime machine. I mean, how do you beat that? How do you outspend that? Of course, we're all on the edge of our seats waiting to see what Elizabeth Warren or Martin O'Malley are going to do. And I think there's growing concern on the left. I mean, there's an outright push from the far left, from the kook left, to actually get Elizabeth Warren into this race, to recruit her, because I think there's growing concern on the left as to whether or not a criminal can win the White House. You won't hear it worded quite like that, but that is the concern. But on the right, there's supposed to be anywhere from 16 to 20 candidates looking to grab the Republican nomination, which is a huge field and, of course, somewhat problematic for things like debates and fundraising. Certainly going to split the fundraising dollars and the votes and other support. But as promised, we here at the Ray Warner Show will continue right along, and I will bring you information on the candidates, what they're running on, what promises they're making, positions on issues, foreign policy, and we'll just keep plugging along in the order of their announcements. So that means next week we'll look at George Pataki. But for now, this week, Rick Santorum, pretty strong conservative, 4 years ago, did very well, as I said, winning 11 states in the primary. Or 3 years ago, I guess. Here are a few highlights from his announcement speech.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a piece of coal. This is where my American story started. My grandfather, Pietro, was a coal miner who brought my dad, 7-year-old Aldo, from fascist Italy. Like millions of other Americans, he didn't come for this. He came for this, freedom. In the late 70s, like many of you, we saw the economic devastation here in southwestern Pennsylvania, but across this country, particularly in the area of manufacturing, as a result of the excesses and indifference of big labor, big government, and yes, big business. Here in southwestern Pennsylvania, the epicenter, we lost over 100,000 jobs in what seemed to be overnight. That has to and did leave a mark on all of us. Afterwards, big government and big business told our workers that times had changed. American workers could no longer compete with low foreign wages, and that those jobs were gone forever. Well, what about those politicians? For all those years, what did they do? What did they do for communities across this area and across this country in small town America? They had no plan, and they provided no hope. And to that I say, no longer. We can't sit idly by as big government politicians make it harder for our workers and then turn around and blame them for losing jobs overseas. Working families don't need another president tied to big government or big money. And today is the day we are going to begin to fight back. I am proud to stand here among you and for you, the American workers who have sacrificed so much, to announce that I am running for President of the United States. I'll offer a bold vision for America, one that's clear and conservative, that has plans for reform and has a proven track record that I have in my time in service. Step one, let's scrap the corrupt federal tax code and the IRS that goes with it. With low-cost energy and our bold plan, I promise you, we will regain the title of a leader in world manufacturing. We will shrink government. We will reduce spending. We will revoke every executive order and regulation that cost American jobs. We will work to bring back America and put Americans back to work. Over the last 20 years, we've brought into this country, legally and illegally, 35 million, mostly unskilled workers. And the result, over that same period of time, workers' wages and family incomes have flatlined. Hillary Clinton and big business, they have called for a massive influx in unskilled labor. Business does it because they want to control costs. Hillary does it, well, she just wants votes. Their priorities are profits and power. My priority is you, the American worker. The largest pro-worker immigration group just published a survey that showed that only one candidate got an A standing behind American workers, and he's standing here today. It's time we have a president who sees the struggle of working families in America not as an opportunity to divide us along race or class, but as a chance to unite us around the ideal that every child in America deserves her birthright to be raised by her parents in a healthy home. Stronger families and more jobs will result in better schools. But our children, well, they deserve an education customized to maximize their potential. The first step in that process is joining me to drive a stake in the heart of Common Core. I can't forget about the other people that I grew up with out at the VA in Butler, our wounded warriors. I saw the price of freedom. I saw the cost of failed political leadership. The Obama-Clinton team, They don't understand that peace comes through strength. I say, join me, take back America, and help these veterans. As you've seen, Commander-in-Chief is not an entry-level position. And the White House is the last place for on-the-job training. It's critical that both our allies and our friends know what to expect from our next president. Last month, I was featured in an online magazine. That's usually a good thing. But in this case, the online magazine was the magazine of the Islamic State, ISIS. Under the headline, "In the words of our enemy," was my picture and a quote. After 12 years of legislating and warning about the gathering storm of radical Islam, they know who I am, and I know who they are. In that article, I described who they are and how to defeat them. And ladies and gentlemen, if I'm the next president, we will defeat them. Finally, we must take back America. For those who seek to deny us our God-given rights of life and liberty. As president, I will stand for the principle that every life matters, the poor, the disabled, and the unborn. I will also fight for the freedom for you to believe what you are called to believe, not just in your places of worship, but outside of your places of worship too. Karen and I have learned a lot in our life, and if there's one thing we've learned, man is limited and God is not. There's much that we can do, but first we need to pray for the same kind of great awakening that inspired and provided our founding to come to this country to heal our land. With your help and God's grace, we can change this nation. Join us! Join us! RickSantorum.com, and let's take back America! God bless you! God bless America!
So you heard in there that he's trying to appeal to the working class Americans. He actually gave this speech from a factory in his hometown of, I'm going to get this wrong, it's either Cabot or Cabot, I don't know, something. It's spelled C-A-B-O-T, so I'm not sure if it's Cabot, Cabot, if the T is silent, Cabot. Anyway, but he announced from there, from his hometown in Pennsylvania. Again, very industry-minded was his message, talking about jobs, talking about getting the economy going, talking about what it's going to take to get the working class, to build up the working class. So many messages this year from candidates wanting to fight for you, wanting to fight for the little guy, even Hillary. After 6 years of Obama, Hillary's coming along saying the deck is stacked against the little guy. So that's Rick Santorum. Good candidate. I like him. Don't go away, folks. Be right back with plenty more.
You're listening to the Rainwater Show. Resistance is futile.
Mike Devers, in his book, said that I had a short attention span. Well, I was going to reply to that, but oh, what the hell, let's move on to something else.
4 blood moons, and is Armageddon knocking at the door? God said, mansaid.com. And there we saw giants, the sons of Anak, the perfect diet. God said, mansaid.com. God on biracial marriage, secrets of olive oil, hours of text and audio. God said, mansaid.com. 3-day Bible fast renews immune system. Which Bible? Which religion? God said, mansaid.com.
You have reached the Bovine Chicken Chat Line, where you can chat with tons and tons of cows about chicken. All our cows are busy. While you're waiting, why not get to know some of these fuzzy fans of chicken? Heifer 9672 is a 1,200-pounder from Kentucky who likes long walks in the pasture, watching cars go by from the pasture, and eating the pasture. She's also an aspiring author, writing a book called The Burgers of Wrath. Bull 5441 is a bull from Chicago with a pierced nose and a nasty temper. But he loves people who eat chicken and the good folks at Chick-fil-A who make the chicken. Bull 5441's pet peeves are cow tipping and the color red, especially when it's meat. All our cows are still busy. Please try calling the Bovine Chicken chat line later. The cows thank you for calling and for not eating burgers. This call made possible by Chick-fil-A.
Welcome back, folks. Thank you so much for listening. This is The Ray Warner Show. I am your host, Ray Warner. If you want to email me or the show, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, or feedback, you feel free. The email address is theraywarnershow@gmail.com. Now, as I mentioned in the opening segment, Hillary has tailored her accent once again to the audience to which she is speaking. I think we all remember this.
I don't feel no ways tired. I come too far from where I started from. Nobody told me that the road would be easy. I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me.
Yeah, that was Hillary giving a speech to a crowd down in Selma, to a mostly black audience. But now, this time, she's over in South Carolina. She's on the campaign trail. And listen to this southern drawl. Check this out.
Right here in South Carolina, I just came from Kiki's Chicken and Waffles, which I highly recommend. Now, let me tell you, I'm aware I may not be the youngest candidate in this race, but I have one big advantage. I've been coloring my hair for years. So, you're not going to see me turn white in the White House.
So what is that? I think I heard a little Andy Griffith in there. And she's all right here in South Carolina, and the chicken and waffles, which I highly recommend. That is too funny. So to go along with her new hairdo, and she's got a new on-demand accent, but it's the same old Hillary, if you ask me. Now, I want you to hear this article. This is from Salon.com. And this is one of the articles I wanted to get to last week, but I wasn't able to. Here's the headline says, reporting on Waco biker gang killings reveals disparities in news coverage. How many synonyms for riot will the media use when describing white-on-white violence, asks Jenny Kuttner of Salon.com. 9 people have died after a shootout between rival motorcycle gangs in Waco on Sunday, when gunfire erupted in the parking lot of a Twin Peaks restaurant in the central Texas city. I use the terms shootout and gunfire erupted after reading numerous eyewitness reports, local news coverage, and national stories about the quote-unquote incident, which has been described with a whole host of phrases already. None, however, are quite as familiar as another term that's been used to describe similarly chaotic events in the news of late: riot. Of course, the deadly shootout in Texas was exactly that, a shootout. The rival gangs were not engaged in a demonstration or protest, and they were predominantly white, which means that despite the fact that dozens of people engaged in acts of obscene violence, they did not quote-unquote riot, as far as much of the media is concerned. Riots are reserved for communities of color in protest, whether they organize violently or not, and the thuggishness of those involved is debatable. That doesn't seem to be the case in Texas. A riot is not simply a demonstration against police brutality. It can also be what happens when scores of hostile white people open gunfire in a parking lot, and when that happens, it can be described as anything but a riot. Here are some synonyms different outlets as well as law enforcement officials came up with: melee, ruckus, fracas, brawl, fistfight, brouhaha, issues, trouble, chaos, shootout, fight, confrontation, problems, altercation, biker gang shooting, incident, what happened here today, scuffles, very dangerous, and something akin to a war zone. So this woman, Jenny Cutner, you heard her say in there that that riots are reserved for communities of color in protest, whether they organize violently or not. No, I'm sorry, that's not true, Jenny. Riots are reserved for riots, for rioting. See, these biker gangs, the Banditos and the Hells Angels and whoever they were down there, these biker gangs were shooting at one another. There was some kind of turf war. Some gang is in this area and some other gang is not supposed to be in this area. This does happen in communities of color, by the way. But the turf war in this biker gang incident turned into a shootout, and that's what it was. It was a shootout between gangs. It wasn't an assault on the police. They weren't throwing rocks at the police. They weren't burning police cars. They weren't running away with bottles of liquor, breaking into a McDonald's, stealing lottery tickets from convenience stores, setting the town on fire, setting a CVS on fire. They weren't doing any of that. Okay, this was just a shootout between two biker gangs. Now, word is that, 9 biker gang members were killed. 4 of them didn't even have a police record. This is what I've heard. I've also heard reports that some biker gang members were trying to get civilians to safety. Did any of that go on in Ferguson? Now, we do know that in Baltimore was kind of a different story. There was actually people in Baltimore that were bringing water to the police, and the people that were doing that were black. Okay, they were not rioters or thugs. Okay, they were helping the police. There was also a line formed. I saw one photograph of a line of civilians, Baltimore citizens, in front of the police, as if to protect them, as if to say, we're on your side, as if to say, if you want to get to our cops, you got to get through us. They were also black, Jenny. They were not thugs. They were not rioters. They were citizens concerned about their community. We use the word rioters to describe the people in the riot, to describe the people rioting. That's why we use the word rioters, Jenny. Now, another article that came out because of the situation down in Waco, this is from the Daily News. Here's the headline: Outrage as social media users compare Waco, Texas to Baltimore and Ferguson uprisings. Who wrote this? Nicole Hensley is her name, of the Daily News. No emergency is as black and white as when the National Guard gets deployed. That's why many social media users were complaining after 9 motorcycle gang members were killed during a shootout in Texas, but no one deployed the troops like they did in Baltimore or Ferguson, Missouri. So Nicole wants to know why the National Guard was not deployed down in Waco, Texas, like it was in Ferguson and in Baltimore. Well, again, Nicole, just like Jenny, you don't seem to get this. Yeah, it was a gang war. Yeah, it was some violence. Yeah, people were getting shot. Okay, but the citizens were not necessarily in danger. And yeah, there was property damage, but not like we saw in Ferguson and not like we saw in Baltimore. We're talking millions, maybe even billions of dollars in damage. Okay, the National Guard had to be brought out to actually restore order in those areas. This gang war was nothing like the riots of Ferguson and Baltimore. Absolutely nothing. And it also has nothing to do with what color the participants were. Yeah, the gang members were white. But these people were not out to destroy the community. These people were not out to destroy the businesses. They were just out to destroy one another. Big difference. Now, I ask you, why does it matter what color anybody is in all of these scenarios? I've said this before and I'll say it again. Whenever you hear there's racism, look around for whoever is the one interjecting race into any given set of facts. Okay, in this case, we have these 2 journalists writing these articles. For example, Nicole wants to know where the National Guard was. If they had all been black, we know the National Guard would have been there, right? And the other one, Jenny, says, the word riot is only used to describe a community of color. This is not the case. But now we see who are the ones interjecting race into a set of facts. I don't care who is what color. All I want to know is what are the facts. Okay, now, for example, I can say person A shoots person B. Now, the first thing I want to know is why. Why did person A shoot person B? Well, if the answer is because person B was pounding person A's head into the concrete, okay, so person A was defending himself. That's fine. Now here comes along somebody like Al Sharpton. Well, what color was person A? Well, he was white. Well, what color was person B? Well, he was black. Oh boy, now we've got a problem. See? Now the Trayvon Martin case is born, and the blogosphere and the Twitter universe go into high gear, lying about how this poor innocent black kid, and of course the picture they'll use will, be like from when he was 8 years old, but, they'll say unarmed black teen shot dead just for walking down the street with Skittles and iced tea. No, that's not the case. That's not the facts of the case. The facts are person A shot person B because person B was pounding person A's head into the concrete. Those are the facts. Leave race out of it. Here's another example. Remember this guy?
No, of course it's not the right word to call our children thugs. These are children who have been set aside, marginalized, who have not been engaged by us. No, we don't have to call them thugs.
But how does that justify what they did? I mean, that's a sense of right and wrong. They know it's wrong to steal and burn down a CVS and an old person's home. I mean, come on.
Come on. So calling them thugs, just call them niggers. Just call them niggers.
That was a member of the Baltimore City Council responding to the rioters in Baltimore being called thugs. Now, once again, who said anything about their race? And why does this councilman use a racial slur to describe their race? If I were black in Baltimore, I'd be offended. We call them thugs because they're thugs. Okay? Just like Michael Brown was a thug. Just like Trayvon Martin was a thug. That's why we call them thugs, because of thuggish behavior. You know what? In my opinion, Eric Garner was not a thug. He was a petty criminal. He was selling loose cigarettes or whatever. And the police approached him and he decided to fight the police. But he wasn't a thug. The bikers down in Waco, yes, they are thugs. Okay, again, nothing to do with race. I don't care if they're white or black. Thugs are thugs. Non-thugs are non-thugs. The Waco bikers that were white, yes, thugs. So let's keep race out of it. Let's just look at the facts. Why is that so hard? We'll be back, folks. Stay right there.
Warning, warning. The Ray Warner Show is not approved by the Obama administration.
If there's nothing wrong with me, maybe there's something wrong with the universe.
Are you concerned about your privacy, identity theft, corporate eavesdropping? Who's listening in on your confidential calls? Silent Circle's innovative suite of encrypted communication services allows you the privacy you need and the ease of use you deserve. We've built a customized system focused on security, simplicity, and service, fashioned from the ground up by our team of world-renowned experts with no logging, no data farming, and no backdoors of any kind for anyone. When a Silent Circle subscriber makes a phone call, sends a text, or exchanges a file with another Silent Circle member, that transmission is encrypted, peer-to-peer, end-to-end, direct from your own mobile device or personal computer. With the addition of OutCircle access, you can even call individuals outside the circle knowing you're still encrypted to and from the silent network. Whether you're a small business concerned with corporate espionage, a governmental organization tasked to safeguard sensitive operations, or an individual protecting your family, you can trust Silent Circle's user-friendly apps and services to provide you with an affordable alternative to the risk you've had to accept until now. Silent Circle's groundbreaking global platform is the world's standard for secure mobile communications. Send a secure text across town or whisper in someone's ear 10,000 miles away. Silent Circle has revolutionized how the world communicates securely. Get in the circle.
It's a war crime of unimaginable horror. Hamas is using children as human shields to protect its rockets aimed at innocent Israelis. This is not an act of war. It's an act of barbarism from a terrorist organization whose charter calls for the destruction of Israel. That's why world leaders have condemned Hamas. Speak out against terrorism. Visit StopHamasNow.com. Sign our petition today.
Welcome back, folks. Thank you so much for listening. This is The Ray Warner Show. I am your host, Ray Warner. If you want to email me or the show, if you have any comments, any questions, any concerns, or any feedback for me, you feel free. If you just need to rant or vent, you can do that as well. The email address is theraywarnershow@gmail.com. By the way, in the aftermath of the gang shootout, here was another article. This is from the New York Daily News. Moms rage at gun fools. Yeah, should I even read that? I mean, how stupid is that? Moms rage at gun fools. I think I did a quick report about this group, the moms who demand gun sense in America or something. And they want all kinds of new gun laws because of what happened down in Waco. This guy wrote an article about that. But this is an unbiased journalist, right? Completely unbiased. Moms rage at gun fools. Yeah, I'm not even going to waste my time reading that drivel. You know, it has been the deadliest month of this century in Baltimore so far. The murder rate has gone sky high. The people shot and killed and wounded. This is all collateral damage. Okay, and Eric Holder's war on the police that he started. The mayor down there, Stephanie Rawlings-Blake, she told the police to stand down when the riots were occurring. It's only property. The police now have pulled way back, and crime is skyrocketing. So she holds a press conference. A reporter goes into this press conference. Leland Vittert is his name, of Fox News. And he is making the connection between the pullback of the police and the soaring crime rate. And the mayor doesn't want to hear it. Listen to this.
Is that because the police are doing less?
So, as I said before, there are a lot of reasons why.
Is that one of them?
We're examining all of those.
Arrests are down 50%.
Can you please let her finish?
I'm not 100% sure what you're doing. This is a very orderly press conference that we normally hold. Your tactics
I'm just asking a question.
You're not. You're being rude, just as you were before. So if you'd like to ask a question and give me an opportunity to answer it, we can do this. Otherwise, I'll end the conference.
He's being rude? Why? You call that rude? See, this is what liberals do when you get too close to the truth. They name call, and then they try to shut you down. Did you hear the other reporter jump in and yell, "Let her finish"? Listen again.
Why? Is that one of them?
We're examining all of those.
Arrests are down 50%.
Can you please let her finish?
Wow. How pathetic is that? Here you've got a reporter drawing a distinction between the fact that the police are doing less and that is at least contributing to the rise in crime. And the mayor, she's not going to say that. She's certainly not going to answer the question that way. And so she's just going to call this guy rude. I'll end the press conference. I'll just, who do you think you are? Unbelievable. We all know that that's what's going on. We all know the police over there they're terrified to do their job. This is what happens when you pull back the police. We have laws in this country. Everywhere I go, there's little white signs on the side of the road. It says speed limit and a number. Now, if I'm on the interstate and I see a sign that says speed limit 65, that means I'm not supposed to go faster than 65. I can't go down the road at 90. And if I do, there's police officers there to stop me and ticket me, give me some kind of punitive measure for violating the law that we, the people, have agreed to should be the law on the highway. If there were no police out there, if I knew there was no police, no repercussions, no possible punitive action was going to be taken against me if I sped down the road, well, then what would keep me from doing it? Why wouldn't I speed if I wanted to? You take the teeth out of the enforcement of the law, and this is what you get. You get a lawless society. Just like we have a lawless president. Now we have a lawless Baltimore. We have a bunch of lawless citizens down there. Crime is on the rise, and why is that? Because they know the police have pulled back. This is what you get, citizens of Baltimore. You need to get on your mayor's case and tell her to stop crime in that city. That's what you need to do. Now, I brought you the story of Common Core. If you listen to the quick reports, and you should, then you heard that Common Core has adopted a program that's very anti-Israel. This is a program that was put together by a fellow by the name of Carl Hobart. He is a Boston University professor. And I originally saw this story in Prophecy News Watch, and then I found a bunch of other articles in other places. Here's one from Newsmax. The headline says, Report, Common Core Lesson Plan Pushes Pro-Palestinian Agenda. Now, in this article, I learned that this guy, Hobart, has actually been on Al Jazeera. And he has admitted to Al Jazeera he hopes that the exercises will lead students to put pressure on our government to create a Palestinian state. Now, is this somebody that you want educating your children? Someone who is a political activist and is going to take his political activism into the classroom? And not only is it in his classroom at Boston University, this is now filtering down into high schools and junior high schools. And he's doing this because he wants the students to put pressure on the government on an issue where he wants a specific political outcome. You want your child in one of those classrooms? The lesson plan has been approved nationally for the Common Core curriculum. That's been reported by another publication, The College Fix. They say the workshop teaches Hamas and Fatah, which began as the Palestinian National Liberation Movement founded by Yasser Arafat, promote peaceful means, and that Hamas is a political party, not a terrorist group. That Fatah and Hamas are political parties equivalent to the Likud and Labour parties in Israel. The workshop requires students to play the parts of Arab, Israeli, or American leaders negotiating a best alternative to a negotiated agreement for the division of Jerusalem. So this guy wants his students role-playing on how to divide Jerusalem. Boston University instructor Carl Hobart, who created the program, insists the classes are simple conflict resolution. But Americans for Peace and Tolerance released a video April 13th aiming to show the program's anti-Israel slant. And the president of Americans for Peace and Tolerance, a fellow by the name of Charles Jacobs, he says, at a time of growing anti-Semitism on U.S. college campuses, it is very disturbing that both Boston University and Weston High School would permit or promote such biased educational materials in the classroom. So, yes, this is going on at classrooms near you. Political activism. Students are being taught how to divide Jerusalem, or they're being forced to negotiate how they should divide Jerusalem. Just another reason to homeschool, folks. If you needed one, there it is. Now, there's an awesome picture I'm going to put up, and this is of a Marine who prayed with his bride-to-be. Have you heard about this? This is really cool. This Marine on his wedding day wanted to pray with his bride. So what they did is they were assisted into position, and they actually held hands around a corner so that he didn't see her on the wedding day. But she could hear him, and they prayed. This Marine wanted to pray for their marriage on their wedding day, and I just think that's awesome. It's an awesome picture, and it went viral, and look for that on the website. Now, there's one more thing I want to address before I go. There was I had a conversation with a listener this week because I made a comment about the Earth being 6,000 years old, and this listener doesn't believe that. He's also a fellow believer in Jesus Christ, and he believes the Earth is far older than 6,000 years. Now, if there are others of you out there other brothers and sisters in Christ who believe the earth is older. That's fine. That's certainly not a point of separation between us. And I welcome the conversation if anyone wants to have it. But let's not lose focus of who the real enemy is. I said that comment in response to this soundbite.
And the levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere are now higher than they have been in 800,000 years.
That was President Obama discussing the amount of carbon in the atmosphere 800,000 years ago, as if there was somebody here measuring that, as if things haven't changed. I think even my brothers and sisters in Christ would agree the flood occurred, all kinds of things that drastically changed the atmosphere on this planet. Whether the earth be 6,000 years old or older, there is no way that we can even possibly know what the carbon content of the atmosphere was 800,000 years ago. I think that's ludicrous. That's the point I was trying to make. This is a political show more than it's a show about doctrine or biblical teaching. And if you're a believer in Christ, don't let things like that separate us. Don't let that or any other doctrinal issue come between us. That's certainly not a point of separation. Let's just remember who the common enemy is here, and that is the one who is taking our nation down the road to destruction, Barack Hussein Obama, who also failed to explain why, if the atmosphere now is as bad as it was 800,000 years ago, that means you can put an equal sign in between the two, right? And what we have today, we haven't seen since a time 800,000 years ago. So 800,000 years ago was also as bad as it is today. So I want to know who 800,000 years ago was driving SUVs and destroying the planet. That's why I want to know who 800,000 years ago was drilling for oil or was destroying the environment. I want to know who or what 800,000 years ago was contributing to global warming. And you know what? If that did happen 800,000 years ago, here we are. So the planet survived. It survived the global warming of 800,000 years ago. So what are we so worried about? He failed to explain that. So anyway, to my brothers and sisters out there in Christ, let's just remain that. Brothers and sisters in Christ. And if you disagree with a point of doctrine, write me an email about it. That's fine. Like I say, I welcome the conversation. But let's not let that separate us. And that's it for this week, folks. Thank you so much for listening in today. Don't forget, if you want to email me, if you have any questions, any comments, any concerns, any problems with something I've said, you feel free. You can drop me a line at theraywarnershow@gmail.com. Don't forget to check out the opinion page. Lots of great articles being posted there. And I don't know how you listen to The Ray Warner Show or to The Ray Warner Quick Reports, but there are any number of ways you can listen. If you go to the website, theraywarnershow.com, you can subscribe, and you'll get a link in your email directly to the show. You can subscribe to The Ray Warner Show YouTube channel, and you'll get notified there. Every show and every quick report is posted on YouTube. It's posted on the Facebook and on the Twitter, as well as theraywarnershow.com. You can also get the show and you can subscribe at iTunes if you feel like going that route. You can also download it from iTunes or from theraywarnershow.com. However you listen to the show, I thank you so much, and please continue to listen and spread the word. Let's get this audience as large as we can. And we'll see you next week, folks. So long.